Welcome to I Don't Do That Anymore. It's a masterclass in the bold way. So, thank you so much for being here today. And before we dive in, I just want to take a minute to acknowledge you because you carved out time for yourself today. And I'm assuming you've got a life that has a very long list of other things that needed your attention today, but you chose this. You chose you. And that's actually the whole point of everything that we're about to do. My name is Melissa Henning Frank. I'm the founder of Becoming Bold, and I'm a personal impact coach. I spent decades in the manufacturing environment, starting at entry-level machine assistant roles where I worked long, hard hours in a male-dominated industry, eventually moving into admin roles, including payroll, HR, and talent development. And then a health issue yanked me out of corporate about 2 years ago, and my determination led me to build my business. So now I show women and work teams how to identify and eliminate the energy leaks and frustrations they continuously recycle. And I've been doing this work for years with individual women, with corporate teams, and most importantly, with myself. I'll get into my background a little more throughout this class, but I don't want to make this about me. Today is yours. Mask off, magic on. So let's make it count. If you find yourself with some questions as you go through this, jot them down and feel free to send me an email or a DM on one of my social platforms, and I'll make sure that you have all my links in the end of this presentation. There are also some great offers for you, so be sure to stay to the end to see what's available, including a free gift from me to you. You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside of your story and you hustle for your worthiness. This is by Brene Brown. I only recently started talking about my own story because it was a lot easier to just push it way down. It was easier to stand outside of it and hustle for my worthiness. And I want you to really consider this quote for a second on the screen because here's what I know about the woman in this room. You have a real story, and that is one that is worth owning. It's worth telling, it's worth building your whole life around. And somewhere along the way, you stopped walking inside of it. You started standing outside of it. You were hustling for everyone else's approval and everyone else's comfort, everyone else's idea of who you should be. And today we change that. Today, I want to start remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So let's start with a mindset moment. You can close your eyes if you'd like. Take a deep breath, a real breath, not the kind that you take between tasks, but the kind that reminds your body that you are here right now in this moment. And another one. I want you to notice something. You showed up today in the middle of everything on your list, everything that needed your attention, everything that was pulling at you. You chose this. You chose to be here. So for the next 40 minutes or so, I want to give you permission to do something you don't do nearly enough. I want to give you permission to be here fully, not halfway present while your mind is somewhere else, not checking on everybody else, not making sure that things are handled before you let yourself settle in, but here and present for you. And whatever you walked in with today, the to-do list, the unfinished conversations, the weight you've been carrying, just set it down. Just for now. It'll still be there when we're done, but right now, this time belongs to you. So take one more breath. And as you exhale, I want you to make one decision, just one, before we begin. Decide that for the rest of this time, you are your own priority, not your job, not your family, not the thing that you forgot to do this morning, but you. You showed up today. You pressed play because something in you is ready to stop recycling, to stop tolerating less than, ready to look honestly at who you've been and decide who you're becoming. And that readiness is what brought you here. So trust it. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So let's begin with an honest inventory. On a scale of 1 to 10, How happy are you? Write it down on page 1 of your workbook. I'm not talking about the number that you'd give somebody at work when they ask how you're doing, and not the number that you'd post on social media, but the real number, the one that you just felt in your body before your brain tried to talk you out of it. Hold on to that number. Start thinking about what would need to change to get that number to a 10. And yes, you deserve to live a 10 out of 10 life, so don't even get me started there. What are you still tolerating that you said you were done with a year ago? Feel into that, because that question has a name, and that name is energy leak, and it has been costing you. It costs you your confidence, your peace, your joy, your sense of self. You already know that something needed to change, and you've known that for a while. So today we stop waiting and we start doing something about it. Here's what you're going to do today. It's not an inspiration that you feel for a day and forget. It's everything we do today is practical, it's personal, and it's immediately usable in your real life. So you're going to leave this room knowing exactly what you've been recycling, why it keeps happening, and what you are done doing about it. And you're going to have a framework, the bold way, that gives you something to come back to every single time the old habits show up. That's what today is for. So get your workbooks out and let's go. So I need to tell you something about where I came from. Little Melissa experienced poverty, abuse, a home that was full of chaos, and she didn't deserve any of that, but that's what she was born into. So it was a rough childhood. It was the kind of upbringing that teaches you to stay useful or stay invisible. So I became the person everybody else needed. I found that helping others gave me purpose and it fueled me. And I prided myself on never needing anyone. And I told myself that was strength. That survival mode followed me into adulthood in relationships and work responsibilities and my sense of worthiness, or should I say lack thereof. And fast forward to 2015. After 2 relocations, I found myself in a new place and I was missing something that I just didn't have words for. It was an emptiness of not having a project, meaning a friend I felt obligated to coach and to help. I really didn't know what to do with that empty space. So one morning, I was getting ready for work. I looked in the mirror and I asked out loud, "Who is my next assignment?" And what I heard next had me in tears. I heard, "You are your assignment." It felt so heavy, but in a needed way. And I had goosebumps everywhere and a feeling of, where the F did that come from? And that was the moment that everything started to change. Not because everything got easier, but because I finally made a decision. I had decided to stop tolerating less than. I decided to stop playing small. I decided to stop shrinking to make everybody else comfortable. I decided to stop recycling the same frustrations from one season of my life to the next. And that was the beginning of me saying for the first time, I don't do that anymore. 5 words. That's it. 5 words that became the most powerful thing I ever said to myself. And by the time we're done today, those 5 words are going to mean something to you too. Because here's what I know about the women in this room. You are capable and you know it. Everybody around you knows it. But something has been getting in the way. Something has been costing you your energy, your confidence, your voice, your peace. And you're done with it. But maybe you just haven't had the framework to make that stick until today. I told you my story because I know it's not just mine. I've sat across from too many women in coaching sessions and workshops and community groups who are living a version of that right now. Women who are capable of so much more and keep getting in their own way. Women who are exhausted in a way they don't know how to explain. Women who have been so busy being everyone else's strength that they forgot to be their own. And I think you might be one of them. And I want you to hear this. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not less than. You are not weak and you're not behind. You are a woman who learned some patterns for a long time that kept you safe. And those patterns stopped serving you. So today we're going to do something about it. The woman in the mirror, she's capable, she's competent, she's the one that people go to when things get hard. She has the experience and the ideas and the drive, but she has something to say in the meeting and she doesn't say it. She has a boundary she needs to hold, but she doesn't hold it. She has a decision she knows that she needs to make, and she keeps waiting to feel ready. She says yes when every part of her means no. She over-explains decisions that nobody asked her to justify. She softens her ideas before anybody even pushes back. She carries other people's emotions like they're hers to fix. And she has been so busy being everybody else's strength that she forgot to be her own. If any of that felt familiar, you're exactly where you need to be right now. And I want you to know something. The fact that you showed up today is already the beginning of something different. Everything we're doing today is built around a framework I developed for my own life, and I have used it with every woman and team that I coach. I call it the B.O.L.D way. And at the bottom of the screen is where you are today. At the top of the screen is where you want to be. The steps across the bridge ask 4 questions, and they're going to sound simple, but yeah, they are simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. And what these 4 questions will ask of you today is honesty, real honesty, the kind that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. You didn't come here to avoid it. You came here because you're done avoiding it. So let's go. We're going to spend real time in each of these today. And I want you to open your workbook right now because it's not a passive experience. You're going to write, you're going to reflect, and you're going to apply everything we talk about to your own life in real time. And by the time we get to the D in the B.O.L.D way, you're going to know exactly who you are becoming, and you're going to have the words to declare it. So let's start here. The B in the B.O.L.D way asks one question. What are you recycling? Not what's wrong with you or what you failed at, but what patterns and barriers keep showing up in your life in different situations with different people in different seasons, but they feel suspiciously the same. Here's what I know about energy leaks. They don't announce themselves. They don't show up as one big dramatic thing. They show up as 100 small moments every single day where you abandon yourself quietly, consistently, without even realizing it. And they're costing you more than you know and more than you've been willing to admit. So today we admit that. Here's the thing about the patterns that keep us stuck. They don't feel like patterns when you're in them. They just feel like the way things are. They feel like your personality. They feel like being responsible, being kind, being the strong one. But underneath all of that, they're energy leaks, and energy leaks are sneaky. You over-explain decisions because you don't want to make them mad. You apologize when there's nothing to be sorry for. You agree to do things you don't really want to do. You know exactly what you need to say and you don't say it. You tiptoe around other people's emotions and you act like you're the one responsible to make sure they stay happy. You shrink in rooms where you absolutely belong. You keep recycling the same frustrations and wondering why nothing changes. So if anything feels familiar, then good, because that is information. It's data, and we're going to use that data. I want to say something important before we go further. Every single pattern I just named, the people pleasing, the shrinking, the over explaining, the saying yes when you mean no, every one of those started somewhere. It started as a way to survive, a way to stay safe, a way to be loved or accepted or needed. And for some of us, it started in childhood. For some of us, it started in relationships that didn't make it safe to be fully ourselves, whether that's personal or at work. For some of us, it started in workplaces that rewarded us for being smaller and quieter and easier. And it worked for a while, so that's why you kept doing it. But you're not in survival mode anymore. And the strategies that kept you safe then are the same ones that are keeping you stuck now. So it's time to let them go. I want to tell you what my energy leak looked like because I didn't have words for it for a very long time. So I mentioned I came from chaos, and in chaos, you learn to be useful. You learn that your value is tied to what you can do for the people around you. So I helped, I guided, I showed up, I figured things out, I carried things, and I called it purpose. I called it strength. I told myself I didn't need anyone because I was the helper, I was the fixer. But what I didn't want to admit for a long time was what all of that helping was actually costing me. I was exhausted. I had ideas that I talked myself out of. I had opinions that I didn't share. I was a version of me that I kept tucking away so that everyone else could stay comfortable. And I thought I was being strong. What I was actually doing is disappearing, slowly and quietly, one small moment of self-abandonment at a time. And I want to ask you, what have you been calling strength that might actually be costing you? So grab your workbook, take 4 minutes with this. Whatever comes up, write it down. Don't edit it. Don't make it pretty. Don't minimize it. Just say it out loud, but on paper for the first time. This is between you and you. Nobody else needs to see this. Just be honest with yourself. So take 4 good minutes on this. Set your timer. Press pause on this class so that you can complete this in your workbook. Press pause now. Welcome back. How was that? I want to give you credit because you just did something that a lot of people never do. You looked honestly at what you've been recycling and you said it out loud, even if it was just on paper. So now here's where it starts to get really real. The O in the bold way asks the question that most people want to skip. It asks, what part of this is mine? And now, before you tense up, I want to be really clear about what I mean. It's not about blame. It's not about taking responsibility for things that were done to you. It's not about deciding you were wrong for protecting yourself. Some of what kept you small came from the outside, from your childhood, from relationships that didn't make it safe to show up fully, from environments that rewarded you for being smaller, quieter, and easier to be around. It's not your fault. And at some point, something shifted. You started doing it to yourself. You started to shrink before anybody asked you to. You learned to soften your ideas before anybody pushed back. You started abandoning yourself quietly, consistently, in 100 small ways every single day. That part, that is yours to own, and not to punish yourself for, but to own it. Because ownership is not blame. Ownership is power. And here's what I know about ownership. The moment you can say, even just to yourself, that I have been participating in this, everything becomes available to you because now you have agency. You have somewhere to put your energy that actually creates change. As long as the problem lives entirely outside of you, in other people, in your circumstances, and the way you were raised, you have no power to change it. You're just waiting for everything outside of you to shift first. And here's the honest truth about that strategy. You could be waiting forever. So ownership says, I'm not waiting anymore. I'm going to look at what I can actually change and I'm going to start there. So here's what owning your impact is not. It's not deciding that you were wrong for protecting yourself. It's not taking blame for other people's behavior. It's not deciding your patterns make you broken. Here's what it is. It's noticing where you show up as less than you know you are. It's being honest about where you have been waiting for someone else to change first. It's deciding right now, today, that you are done participating in your own smallness. I want to be honest with you about what owning my impact looked like for me. Some of what kept me small did come from the outside. My childhood, a marriage that didn't make it safe to be fully me, environments that rewarded me for being useful and penalized me for having needs. But here's what I had to own. At some point, I started doing it to myself. I did start to shrink before anybody asked me to. I learned to really soften my ideas so that nobody would take offense. I made myself quieter, smaller, really easy and fun to be around. And I called it being humble or being considerate. What it actually was me abandoning myself over and over again in those small moments that I told myself didn't matter, but they mattered. So the moment I could say that honestly, not without shame but clarity, that I'm owning my contributions to this, I started feeling more courageous and more powerful because now I knew exactly where the work was. And so do you. So this one might feel uncomfortable. Go to page 3 of your workbook. But uncomfortable means you're being honest, and honest is exactly where we need to be. So again, take 4 minutes or as long as you need. Pause it, take as long as you need, come back. Write what comes up. No editing, no softening, no trying to talk yourself out of what you already know is true. Go ahead and pause. All right, welcome back. What you just wrote, that's evidence of your awareness. And awareness is where every single transformation starts. You can't change what you won't own, and you just owned it. So I'm so proud of you for sitting with that. Now, we're not stopping here because the L in the bold way is where everything starts to feel possible again. The L in the bold way asks a question that might surprise you. It doesn't ask, how do you trust yourself completely? It's not, how do you become a different person overnight? It's not, how do you fix everything all at once? It's just this. What would you do if you trusted yourself 10% more? 10%. Not a complete overhaul, not a personality transplant, not waiting until you feel 100% ready, because I'll tell you right now that feeling is not coming first. Just 10%. Just a small, consistent shift in the direction of the woman you know you already are. Here's what I've learned about self-trust. We treat it like it's this massive thing that we either have or we don't, as if confidence is a personality trait that you're born with. And if you weren't born with it, you're out of luck. That is not how it works. Self-trust is built the way any trust is built, slowly through repeated experience, through showing up for yourself consistently in small moments over time. Every time you say the thing instead of pushing it down, you build self-trust. Every time you hold the boundary instead of caving, you build self-trust. Every time you make a decision and stand behind it instead of immediately second guessing yourself, you build self-trust. Every time you choose yourself, even just quietly and on purpose, you build self-trust. So 10% is enough to start. 10% is enough to interrupt the pattern. 10% is enough to remind yourself that you know what you're doing, even when the self-doubt is loud. You don't need to trust yourself completely to lead with courage. You just need to trust yourself a little more than you did yesterday. I want to give you something practical to take out of this room today, something that you can use in real time, in real moments, when the old patterns come pulling, because they will. So it's a phrase, 5 words, and it changed my life. You see it on the screen. I don't do that anymore. Here's how it works. You feel the pull, the urge to over-explain, to say yes when you mean no, to shrink, to stay quiet when you have something to say. You feel it coming. You know that familiar feeling. And instead of just going along with it the way you've always have, you pause just for a second and you say to yourself, or you could say it out loud, oh, wait, I don't do that anymore. That pause is the game changer. That pause is the 10%. That pause is you leading with courage in a real moment in your real life. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to feel natural just yet. It just has to create enough space for you to make a different choice. That is what leading with courage actually looks like. It's not a dramatic transformation, it's just a pause. It's a choice, and it's 5 words that remind you who you're becoming. Leading with courage for me definitely came in a lot of small moments. It was definitely not a big moment. It was a meditation practice that I built over 10 years that slowly rewired how I respond to stress and self-doubt. It was intentionally curating who I let into my orbit, choosing relationships and friendships that made it safe to be fully me. It was a loving marriage that showed me for the first time what it felt like to be truly prioritized. And none of that happened overnight. I've been working hard on this for a long time, but it all started with small decisions. Decisions to trust myself a little bit more, to say the thing, to hold the boundary, to choose me, even when it felt uncomfortable, even when it felt selfish, even when every old pattern in me said I had to put myself last again. And somewhere in all of those small decisions, I stopped recycling the frustrations. I stopped shrinking. I started saying, I don't do that anymore. And I started really meaning it. That is available to you right now, starting today. Maybe not all at once, but starting today. So grab your workbooks again, open to page 4, and I want you to be really specific here. I don't want you to write down, I would be more confident, but think about what would that actually look like in a real moment in your real life? What would you say? What decision would you make? What would you stop waiting for? What would you do differently tomorrow morning if you trusted yourself just 10% more? So take 4 minutes to write down or longer. Write down what your soul is begging you to express. Go ahead and pause this. Okay, welcome back. So what came up? What would you do if you trusted yourself just a little more? Hold on to exactly what you just wrote because that specific thing is what we're going to build, what we're going to use to build your declaration around in just a few minutes. You just answered one of the most important questions you can ask yourself. And I want you to notice something. You didn't have to think about it that hard. It came up pretty quickly, didn't it? And that's because you already know. You've known for a while. You've just been waiting for permission to act on it. So today I'm giving you that permission. Actually, I'm taking it one step further. The D in the bold way is where you stop waiting for permission altogether. And hey, if you're feeling stuck in this process and if you're having a hard time coming up with words, don't beat yourself up. Your brain might be trying to protect you. Our brains don't like change. You might need to come back to this later when you have more time to sit quietly and reflect on all of this. It's a lot. Just don't dismiss it completely. Give it time and come back. So the D in the bold way asks the biggest question of all. It's not who you've been or who do other people need you to be, not who you would be if everything in your life was different, but who are you becoming right now on purpose and by choice? This is where everything you've done in this last half hour or so starts to really mean something. You've seen the patterns. You've owned your part. You've identified where trusting yourself more would change things. And now we talk about her, the woman on the other side of all of that work, the woman you were always meant to be. Here's the thing I most want you to understand about designing your future. Most people are waiting to feel different before they decide to be different. They're waiting for that self-doubt to go away before they speak up. They're waiting to feel ready before they make that move. They're waiting for the transformation to happen before they make the decision. But all of that is backwards. The decision comes first, always. I did not have the meditation practice. I did not have the loving marriage. I did not have the curated orbit or the clarity when I stood in that mirror and heard, "You are your assignment." I just made a decision. I decided that I was worth prioritizing. I decided to stop tolerating anything less than. I decided to become my own assignment. Everything else followed because of that decision, not before it. So you don't have to have it all figured out to decide who you're becoming. You just have to decide that this is the way you're going. And here's the most important thing I will say to you today. The right moment is not coming. You have to make that moment. And this is that moment. You are your assignment. Future you is ready. I want you to write about her like she's real because she is. She's not a fantasy. She is you, a few decisions ahead of where you are right now. So, what does she say in the meeting? How does she handle the moment someone pushes back on her idea? What does she no longer apologize for? What does she no longer tolerate? How does she feel at the end of the day? So take some time and write her into existence in your workbook. Open to page 5. Go ahead and pause this and take your time. Okay, welcome back. I want you to look at what you just wrote. That woman that you described, she's not far away. She's one decision ahead of you. Everything we've done today leads to this moment. You've seen what you've been recycling. You've owned your part in it. You've identified what trusting yourself more would change. You've written about who you're becoming. Now I want you to write your declaration. So on the last page of your workbook, finish this sentence. I don't do that anymore. Specifically, I don't blank, blank, blank. What is the one thing that you're leaving in this room today? The one pattern, the one habit, the one way of showing up as less than you are that you're done with. Write it, make it specific, and make it yours. Take some time with this one. Go ahead and pause. I don't blank, blank, blank anymore. Welcome back. Feel into that. You just did something that most people never do. You looked honestly at your patterns, you owned your part, you decided who you're becoming, and you made a declaration. That's not a tiny thing. That's definitely the beginning of everything changing. That declaration you just made, it deserves a place to grow, and it deserves support. It deserves community. It deserves a framework to come back to every single time the old habits show up. And that's exactly what I want to talk to you about in the last few minutes here. So we all know that attending one masterclass is not enough to undo years of recycling the same frustration. One declaration is not enough to permanently rewire a pattern that's been running in the background of your life for a long time. And that's not me being discouraging. That's me respecting you enough to tell you the truth. So the declaration is just the beginning. What comes next is the work of actually living it, of catching yourself in the moment, of having somewhere to bring the hard questions, of being surrounded by women who are doing the same thing. So before we close today, I want to tell you about a few ways that you can keep going on this. I don't want you to leave this room and go back exactly the way you were. You came here for a reason, so let's honor that. So the first place I want to invite you is Women Becoming Bold. It's a free Facebook community for women who are doing exactly what you started today. It's women who are asking the hard questions, doing the honest work, refusing to go back to tolerating less than. This is where the declaration you just made gets to live and breathe and grow, surrounded by women who get it, who are in it with you, and who are not going to let you go back to shrinking. Inside Women Becoming Bold is the place where you truly keep the energy going. It's a free community. Next, we have Becoming Bold Bootcamp and advanced basic training and advanced individual training. So you're sick of recycling the same frustrations. In 6 weeks from now, you won't be. Basic training is your 6-week self-paced path through the bold way. Breakthrough, own it, lead with courage, decide, and design. Each week, you're going to name what's draining you, read the signals that you've been ignoring, see your own patterns clearly, and change the play. all based on things that you're experiencing as you go through the boot camp. By week 6, you're not just thinking differently, but you're deciding and designing your future on purpose. And if you want backup along the way, that's the advanced individual training part of the Becoming Bold Bootcamp. So this adds 2 more weeks and puts your MBTI and TKI results to work. Myers-Briggs Type Indicator and Thomas Kilmann Conflict. You'll get a 90-minute kickoff session, which will help level you up on your goals even before you start week 1. And then 3 more sessions land right after weeks 2, 4, and 6. So you're never processing a breakthrough alone. And by the finale, you've got 8 weeks of momentum, a debrief on how you're wired, and a coach who watched you become someone new in real time. So here's what 6 weeks from now looks like. You're not tolerating the same frustrations you're tolerating today. You've said the truth out loud and what's running the show, and you've built a new default instead of white knuckling it. Confidence isn't something that you're hoping for. It's truly embedded after the 6 weeks. So for today only, if you sign up for basic training or AIT the same day you take the I Don't Do That Anymore Masterclass, then I will give you the Becoming Bold Bootcamp Journal. It's a $24.99 value. It goes deeper than the workbook that you get anyway with the bootcamp, either one. And I need you to message me after you enroll in either basic training or AIT to let me know that you've done that, and then you'll get the journal. I'll send you the e-copy for the basic training. And then if you go into the advanced individual training, you get the e-copy and the hard copy. It's actually a paperback. So enroll today. You get those deals. I would suggest messaging me in case there is a current discount code. And as always, military veterans get 25% off of all my programs, no matter what. So the QR code to sign up is on the next slide. And I'd love for you to follow me. I also post daily on various social media platforms, and I publish a weekly newsletter and podcast too. So I'd love for you to connect with me and take advantage of the free resources I offer. There's no catch. It's truly my passion project. 10 years ago, I stood in front of a mirror and I asked who my assignment was. And the answer was, you are your assignment. And it took me a long time to fully live that. But it started with a single decision to stop tolerating less than, to stop shrinking, to stop recycling. And you made that decision today. You showed up, you did the work, you wrote your declaration. Now keep going. Don't stop here and get back into the old familiar patterns. You are your assignment, so act like it. Thank you so much for being in this room today. All of the links are on the previous slide, and keep becoming you.